creepy TikToks that will blow your mind. Are you ready? Are you ready? Let's go!
Disclaimer: this video is for entertainment purposes only. Please do your own research, as these clips haven't been fact-checked.
Giant hole in Siberia, known as the gateway of hell, is expanding faster than anticipated. In the 1960s, this crater was barely visible. However, this hole, known as the Bataika crater, has tripled in size in 30 years. The Bible says that God speaks through his creation. Well, the Bible says in the book of Isaiah that hell has enlarged herself without measure, meaning that hell is growing larger and larger. Jesus also says that in Matthew 7 verse 13 that the gate that leads to hell is wide. Therefore, this giant gateway expansion really symbolizes that hell is really getting large. If you don't want to go to hell, you must accept Jesus and make him your Lord and Savior. Type I accept you, Jesus, and share this with someone.
Right, I'm going to tell you a story. When I was in school in Azerbaijan in Baku, we had to study a poet whose work was so dangerous that the authorities of his time decided the only appropriate punishment was to skin him alive in a public square.
Skim him.
And his name was Imadeddin Nasimi, a 14th century Azerbaijani Sufi mystic who wrote poetry in 3 languages and was executed in Aleppo in 1417 in one of the most brutal ways the medieval world could devise. His crime was one line. Mende sığar iki jahan, men bu jahana sığmazam, which means the universe fits within me. I would not fit within this world. To the religious authorities, this was not poetry. It was direct declaration that the divine lived completely inside the human body, that God required no intermediary, no institution or no clergy standing between human being and a sacred. And that kind of knowing has always been the most threatening thing a person can say out loud. Nasmi belonged to the Hurufiya tradition, a mystical movement that read the divine in the letters of the alphabet, in the geometry of the human face, in the lines of the body itself. Every human being a living scripture. When they began flaying him in the public square, he kept reciting poetry. When his blood fell on a bystander who recoiled, Nasmi looked at him and said, "A man of true faith would not flinch from this." They took his skin. They could not take what he knew. I grew up studying this man in school and I never forgot him. What would you, William, be to say if the cost was everything?
He was very intelligent Persian poet and scientist.
Paul McCartney, they say he died in a Volkswagen accident. He had a Volkswagen and they took off as he got decapitated, okay? They said he was 27. So if you look at the album, Abbey Road, he's the only one barefoot walking the street. And the license plate behind says 28 if, meaning he would have been 28 if he didn't get into that crash.
Did you see the Beatles album?
Sgt. Pepper's?
Yeah.
So you know about this.
Aleister Crowley?
Aleister Crowley.
Why would they put the guy? The guy is full blatant Satan.
I know, right?
They love Aleister Crowley. I'm telling you, they don't hide it. They used to hide it more. Now they don't hide it.
Someone saw this on a cruise ship and the captain said it's just a reflection. Look right there. I don't think that, I don't remember, look at the fin. See, the thing about it is, Cap, I don't think reflections make ripples in the water. I don't think that's it. One thing about it, 2 things for sure, y'all are really making it hard for me to go take my birthday cruise because that looked like a colossal squid. Did y'all know that people literally thought the colossal squid was a myth for the longest time until, they found pictures of the size of a bus? A bus. Now we know it's there. I already told you in the other episodes that sea gigantism is real, but it only happens at pressures that we as humans cannot get to. So we don't know. I guess my thing is, how can you look out into that vast ocean and think we're the only ones? There's more ocean, right? If I'm correct, there's more ocean on the earth than there is land. So what? 2 and 2 is equaling 4 for me. I don't know how y'all are getting 5. Why do we think it's just, it's just kicks and giggles in there? Why? What? Like, really? What was that? And you know what? While I'm at it, I need to look up the update on the Gerald the Dolphin thing because we haven't talked about that in a couple weeks. I'm gonna call y'all back.
Captain is correct. Imagine if he really told them what that was.
Allegedly, there's also a ghost in chains that will feed off of your life force, according to one blogger. There's also another rumor that one of the Catholic nuns from the 1950s was raped and hanged in the forest just outside of the entrance of the Cobb estate, and that satanic rituals are responsible for the forest being haunted. Believers in ghosts, like us, the ghost hunters, Project Purgatory. The Cobb Estate is rumored also to be a longtime home for white supremacist activities. We used to encounter white supremacist meetings way up there several times, always late at night. Others reported similar stories of finding and being chased by Ku Klux Klan members in the forest. That is where we are heading tonight. Basically, go through this haunted forest, find the haunted mansion, avoid the Ku Klux Klan, avoid the aliens, avoid the demonic Satanists that may be out there, avoid the ghost, and avoid the life-eating forest monster that's supposed to be out there, and not die, most importantly.
Some call it the haunted forest in Altadena.
Man, so he has everything.
Consequently, Jehovah's Witnesses, like most cults, and they are, incidentally, they are referred to as York Rite cults in Masonry. York Rite cults. This is why the Watchtower Society moved to New York. New York is the old York, England, and the presence of the Knights Templars of old York, England moved into America and called it New York. And they called New York the Empire State. Why? Because it's the state of the New York Rite Masonic Empire coming out of York, England, and establishing their filthy, dirty system in our beloved country in New York. There is nothing dirtier or filthier on the earth, in my present opinion, than New York City.
What?
It's only topped by the Vatican. Somebody needs to do their homework. Charles Taze Russell was financed out of London, England. The money was coming out of MI5 and MI6. The Mormon Church, Seventh-day Adventist, the Worldwide Church of God, all of these are referred to as York Rite cults, financed, organized, directed out of London. Something's going on here.
Let me know how you feel about this in the comment.
An all-white aura, that's very rare.
What would that mean if it's all white?
They're pretty much a spiritual portal for either angelic beings or... Whenever I see white on an aura, there's entities that are using this person as a vessel. It doesn't mean that it's in a bad way. It just means that either they have a very important message that they have to bring to our planet, or they're just a portal. Like, I've seen white when I did an aura reading on Aleister Crowley. But then it was all covered in, like, gray and black, and there were negative entities on him. At his core, there was white.
Wow.
Yeah.
On the devil himself, huh?
My aura is the Holy Spirit.
There's obviously weird things that people see in the Appalachian Mountains. People say skinwalkers, wendigos. I don't know if you know what a wendigo is.
Yeah, I do.
Do you know how it looks like?
I don't know how it looks like, but I know that they
Why?
have so much hunger that it can't be satisfied.
Specifically for human flesh that it can't be satisfied. The concept of a wendigo comes from a different indigenous groups in North America. The stories that were told from them are completely different from what we've seen nowadays. Although the depiction of the wendigo is accurate in the sense of there were once humans who had turned into cannibals, and it's more also transformation of the soul. Basically lose your humanity. Their skin would become gray. They would have no lips. They would have cuts on their bodies. They had gaunt, emaciated faces, and the smell of rotting flesh would linger because of their skin. Their skin would be deteriorating to the point where you could see their bones. It didn't matter who they would eat. They would eat a family member, a friend, as long as it satisfied their needs. And then why they decided to eat humans? If you were a shitty hunter and you had no animal to eat, or if it was wintertime, there was barely any animals to catch, they will resort to eating human flesh. And then from then on, you would get banished from your tribe. This is what people think a wendigo looks like. That you probably have seen before. Many times.
Yeah, I've seen that.
That's how a wendigo is supposed to look like.
Ooh.
Yeah, what the fuck?
Yeah. I know the game Until Dawn, they did like a really, really good, accurate depiction of what a wendigo is.
The space launch recently.
Yeah, on
April
April
1st. So there's a crazy coincidence.
What happened?
And Marvel fans are going crazy.
Okay.
If you paid attention to the people that went to space on that Artemis trip, Operation Artemis,
yeah.
That operation has 4 astronauts going to space, right?
Yeah.
Recently, there was a movie that came out called The Fantastic Four.
Oh, deadass?
Now, one of the people that went on that mission
Deadass?
was Reed Richards.
Reed Richards. Who's Reed Richards in the movie?
movie. Reed Richards is Mr. Fantastic in Fantastic Four. So there's 4 of them, literally in every single Fantastic Four.
Okay.
It's always Reed Richards.
Yeah. He's like the main.
He's the main. In every Fantastic Four, there's also a woman. One woman, though, and a bald guy. This operation, or this project,
They had the same?
had a bald guy, a woman, and a guy named Reed Richards.
No. Are they playing our
It was
face?
all on April Fool's, too.
Yeah.
It's almost like, yo, we're gonna joke about it right now. We're literally gonna show you Fantastic Four in real life.
No.
I don't believe anything really happens anymore.
Oh, hold on. I'm sorry. The CIA 50 years ago knew that there was evidence that taking an anti-parasitic like ivermectin could reduce tumors, and they classified it and hid it?
Correct. It was a Soviet study. These Soviet scientists found that both tumors and parasites and these anti-parasitics exerted similar mechanisms, and they found that it exerted anti-cancer activity in animals. And that study was classified by the CIA in the 50s and not declassified until 2011. So, that did significantly set back some of this vital cancer research.
Now they use cancer to depopulate the planet.
In Persian mythology, the world does not begin with peace. It begins with 2 brothers existing side by side. Ormas stands for light, order, and intelligence. Ahriman stands for darkness, impulse, and corruption. Not enemies at first, just opposing forces sharing the same reality. Ormazd creates structure, cities, laws, cosmic order, the tree of life itself. He gives power to others, believing balance will hold. Ahriman learns something crucial before Ormazd does, that humans are easier to turn than gods. He doesn't conquer through strengths, he converts hearts. Every follower feeds him, every weakness grows his influence, and slowly the balance tilts. And when Ormazd finally acts, it's not mercy. It's strategy. He attacks Ahriman followers, not the source. Hunter, concubine, warrior, alchemist, each sealed, each removed. What remains of his power, Ormazd binds his brother into the tree of life itself, not destroyed but trapped, contained until corruption loses momentum. Then Ormazd disappears into cosmos, leaving the world unfinished on purpose, because the final outcome depends on one thing only: who humans choose to empower.
Persian culture is so rich.
She signed her name 4,300 years ago, making her the first author in human history. Enheduanna was a Mesopotamian high priestess who wrote I Enheduanna at the end of her poems, the first time anyone in history claimed authorship of their work. Appointed by her father, King Sargon of Akkad, to unite his empire through religion, she wrote hymns that fused the Sumerian goddess Inanna with the Akkadian Ishtar, creating religious unity across Mesopotamia. When a rebel leader expelled her from her temple, she wrote the Exaltation of Inanna, a 153-line masterpiece begging the goddess to restore her. It worked. She was reinstated and ruled for over 40 years.
What?
Her poetry was so powerful, it was copied by scribes for 500 years after her death. She didn't just write. She invented literary authorship, first-person narrative, and personal devotional poetry. Before Homer, before the Bible, there was Enheduanna.
What?
Books to watch. Subscribe for more untold history.
Amazing woman, amazing history. I love to read her poetry.
Peru is so ancient, it holds one of the world's greatest mysteries on a mountaintop. Peru has an amazing variety of landscape. It stretches all the way into the Amazon rainforest. Because of this, Peru is one of the most diverse countries in the world. High in the Andes Mountains is Machu Picchu, a famous Inca city about 8,000 feet above sea level. Its huge stone blocks fit together nearly perfectly without mortar. Not even a blade or a thin sheet of paper could slide between most of them, showing the Inca's amazing engineering skill. And Peru's history stretches back further than many people think. In its desert, there are the Nazca lines, huge geometric designs on the ground that are best seen from above. Researchers have proposed explanations, but their exact purpose is still debated. Peru is not just a destination, it's a landscape of unanswered questions. On our Peru and Bolivia expedition, we explore these sites with context from Machu Picchu, the Sacred Valley, and beyond. Comment Peru, and I'll send you the link.
Man, I would love to go there.
Someone once said, maybe celebrities who are one-hit wonders are just the ones who refuse to sell their soul. Now, this is MIA, the woman behind the song Paper Planes. You know, remember 2010, around there, the song came out. Listen to what she says happened to her in the industry, and now I'm thinking one-hit wonders probably are people who refuse to sell their soul.
I met Jay-Z and I signed to Rock Nation. The first thing he told me to do is get plastic surgery. I'm not insecure because I would have got plastic surgery. People make it, they all can turn around and thank Beyonce because that's it. And enough is enough. I'm fucking coming for everyone now. And even Adele, because she's retired now, but her career would not exist if I hadn't made Jonathan Dickens into a manager. And when she gets an award, she thanks Beyonce. Oh, I didn't want to drip myself in blood and cover myself in swimming goop, in black goop, and I wear devil horns to fucking sell a record. That. All be a witch. All be that. All of that. Fuck all of that.
She didn't want to wear devil horns. She didn't want to drip blood all over. Are you guys hearing this correctly? And you know this woman, right? You know the song, Paper Planes.
Yep.
Now, there are many other one-hit wonders. Think of the guy from... This guy, Atlian Childs. He won X Factor in Australia in 2010. He subsequently, his career changed. He dropped a 4-hour video exposing Freemasonry and what they wanted him to do in the entertainment industry. People are coming out and blowing the whistle and exposing the inner workings. You'd think Hollywood ideally is like this organic movement that's like, let's entertain people and like give them fun things to think about. It's just not the case. There's something else going on here. Now, the majority of the entertainment industry is used to manipulate our conscious minds, subconscious minds, put us in a...
She was speaking the truth.
Here we go. The holidays at St. Louis. Look at all those light bulbs. That's an electric fountain right there. Electric fountain. Look at that. If you want to see more. All of those fountains, all of those lights. So then we got this one. Check right there. That's the electric tower right there. And that is where the blimps and airships would dock. The blimps and airships would dock. That's what that is right there. Nighttime, this is what it looked like. I mean, look at that. Absolutely stunning. And look at all those lights. You have to wonder where all that electricity was coming from. So we have the Temple of Music. Oh, yeah. I would just throw this up. Hammer and chisel. We just kind of threw that up. Once again, 366 acres of stone buildings. This is just 1901 St. Louis. Okay, there's 1893 Chicago. These are the fountains, electric fountains. Every fountain is an electric fountain. For a temporary establishment, look at that fountain. That is all pure copper, and that is all electric. And those buildings in the back are all stone. Everything was made out of granite, travertine, and pure stone. The government building, how about that? People were just throwing up buildings. Horse and wagon, hammer and chisel, candlelight.
Today, only the governments are glorified with Masonic markings.
I don't know, but I was looking at something just a second ago, right? If this motherfucker was to stand up, he'd be taller than this building. These other guys ain't as tall. And then if you look here, he has two women on the side of him. This one been chiseled out. But the one on this side is still there. They got women at their feet. But look how big they are. And look how little the other statues are standing up compared to this one sitting down. So if he stood up, he'd probably be twice as big as the other. And plus, what's up with these little ladies? And there's one over here too, but they chiseled it out a little bit. Crazy. Well, I'm at the Luxor Temple for the entrance. This is the entrance.
The truth in plain sight, bro.
This is in the 1920s, and you'll never look at a fire hydrant the same after this, okay? These ladies have a transmitter receiver box in their hand. They wrap the cord around the fire hydrant that is grounded in the ground, electrical currents coming up, everything's connected in the city, and they make a call. They make a wireless call in the 1920s. Now, this is a smart city. This is a smart city using the Earth's natural currents to call somebody in the 1920s.
Come on, man.
What are we doing here? Why are we getting excited about the little technology that we get after it was invented or found hundreds of years ago? Hundreds of years ago.
It's all about money and control.
Amy Eskridge, one of the 11 scientists that committed suicide, said before she died that she believed we had elites and people living among us that were from the future. Watch this.
So the ultra-terrestrials, I'll just tell you. The ultra-terrestrials, I think, have you heard of the P-52s and the P-47s? Do you know what that is? They're us from the future. They're from here. They are you. They are me. They're from here, from the future. P-47 is present plus 47,000 years. P-52 is present plus 52,000 years. And basically there's a calamity, right? So there's like a apocalypse scenario in the near future. It wipes out most of like everything, man. And there's the ones that go underground and survive, right? And then there's the ones that somehow stay on the surface and miraculously don't die.
Is this part of the reason why bunker sales have exploded in recent years? Because we or our descendants are time traveling to tell us how to survive what's to come? It's all really crazy, but it's important to note that Amy made every effort possible to let her friends and business partners know that she was not suicidal and would not kill herself, but instead that she feared for her life. So it makes you wonder if she was just speaking too much truth about ultra-terrestrials, propulsion systems, and everything else. As always, let me know what you think about all of this down below.
Rest in peace, Amy.
Oh, look at that. Another star fort. This is exactly what I wanted to show you. So you will find in just this city alone, it's a great demonstration for this whole center of the star fort thing. I wanted to show you. What do you see in the middle of this star fort that's not blurred out?
Oh,
Do
it
you
looks
see
like
that keyhole?
a keyhole, yeah.
Oh, yes, yes. So that's a very fun rabbit hole there. So all of these star forts, this is a star fort that's in ruin here. That's, side by side next to that. Look at how many that's like maybe 10, 20 miles away, give or take. An exact little star fort. This one's in disrepair, but look right in the middle again. What's that? It looks like a keyhole just in ruins, in disrepair. Look at that one. Another one. Oh, look at that. Another keyhole. Sting. Is that just some fancy design that they're doing? I'm not sure. Look at that. Another one. It looks like it's all grown over and overgrown, but you can see it clear as day if you zoom in. Keyhole. So is it just a coincidence?
That's
I
a
don't know.
river.
I don't know. Let's ask the Statue of Liberty. The Statue of Liberty's built on a star fort, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Boom, right there. What's right next to that star fort?
Keyhole.
Bam. Let's ask the Vatican.
Okay. Yeah, this
What's
is
right next?
interesting.
Look at that. Star fort. All right. What's right next to that star fort? Right in the middle of the
Oh, okay, I get it now.
Giant keyhole shape.
Bang, bang, bang. Circle gets the square.
Right, we need to talk about the 16th century's favourite accessory, the lactating fountain. I'm
What?
sure you've seen them on your travels, particularly in Italy, because they were so popular. So these sirens or nereids, they feature at the bottom of the Neptune fountain in Bologna. Here you can see it in its context. The nereids are sat here at the bottom, squeezing water from their breasts. Here we have another one called Fontana della Tette, and this is
Oh, tete mean boobies in Indonesia.
found in Treviso in Italy. And here is the multi-breasted fountain of nature found in the village Est in Tivoli. The popularity of the lactating fountain, though, did spread beyond Italy. This one can be found in Nuremberg, and it's called the Fountain of the Virtues. So what was this all about? Were Renaissance people just obsessed with lactating fountains, or was there more to it? During this era, lactating fountains were highly symbolic. They represented Mother Nature, they represented fertility and abundance. For example, when the future Emperor Charles V entered Bruges in the mid-16th century, the city set up this huge fountain. It was a temporary wooden structure beautifully painted, and at the top of it were the three graces lactating, but they weren't lactating water, they were lactating wine. This was a 16th century version of a champagne tower. It signalled to Charles and signalled to everyone that Bruges was a wealthy city, full of abundance, that could afford to have free-flowing wine for days. And so when a city was building a huge marble fountain for the public, this was all about saying how wealthy the city was, how benevolent it was. It was all about the fact that Mother Nature was providing, but really it was the Pope providing, or the city's leaders. So if your city had a fountain with lactating goddesses or sirens, it was basically saying that your city was rich, fertile, and very, very well hydrated. And then sometimes on special civic occasions, these fountains were then plumbed in to provide free-flowing wine for the population. It was all about peace, harmony, celebration, and abundance. But it wasn't all about deep symbolism. The Renaissance was also a time for fun and playfulness in design, and sometimes in the gardens, fountains like this would be trick fountains. So these statues are often hidden in grottos or artificial gardens, and you'd be admiring them, and then all of a sudden the owner would turn on the switch and you'd get soaked with water from the lactating fountains. So here is another design. You'd be walking along thinking it's just a statue, but oh no, it's a hidden fountain, and you'd get very wet. The lactating fountain remained incredibly popular well into the 17th century, but beyond that, they fell completely out of fashion. Many of them have now been lost to us, but let me know, what do you think of them?
Magnificent.
I fell. I was walking down the stairs. I hit my head on the banister. Jay Leno's on video. His whole left eye, his whole left side of his face is black and blue. And he has fallen down a hill, he claims. What's going on is something called soul scalping.
What?
And this is where a draconian, viril-powered parasite, a reptilian, comes in through the left eye and within 2 weeks kills the soul of the person it's inhabited, but takes over their memories and their consciousness. And it appears as though these people are not going through an initiation. They're not being punished for anything, but they're notables and people of influence. Now, we don't know this, but I'm surmising why these individuals would have the black eye, why they would have the reptilian consciousness. And that's because they're people of influence. And that would be of interest to the race who really is our masters. Now, we think we're top of the food chain. We eat cows, we eat fish and cows eat other things, et cetera, et cetera. There's a pyramid of who's on top of what food chain. Well, what if we're not on top of the food chain?
Right.
The thing about the Black Eye Club and this reptilian incursion through the eye, and I'll go into a little more detail of that in a moment, is that we're told by whistleblowers and we're told by certain text that to maintain the life force that they have just assumed, they need to have high stem cell blood and in large quantities, the kind of blood that would come from a baby. And if they can't have a baby's blood, then it's going to be adrenochrome. And only if this were true, then it would go a long way to explaining the child trafficking, the deep underground military bases where there's baby factories and the babies are sacrificed and the blood is used and adrenochrome is created. What if our masters require this? And what if our masters were all the people that we respect and admire and vote for, but they're really no longer themselves? Now, let me take you a little bit further into how this works.
I think it's way more sinister than that.
What if I told you a mummy in Egypt was found with a piece of the Iliad hidden inside it? At the ancient site of Oxyrhynchus in Egypt's Minya region, a joint Spanish-Egyptian team uncovered this Roman-era burial complex, and it's full of surprises. This isn't just one tomb, it's an entire necropolis filled with layers of ancient history. Inside the burial chambers, researchers found something unusual for Egypt: ceramic vessels containing cremated human remains. Even more surprising, they even found infant bones and cat skulls, all carefully wrapped in cloth. It suggests burial practices that mix traditions, cremation alongside more traditional Egyptian burials. One exciting discovery came from another tomb. Inside were Roman-era mummies wrapped in decorated linen, and inside their mouths were golden tongues. These are tiny gold amulets that were placed in the mouths of the dead, believed to help them speak in the afterlife, especially during judgment. And then comes the biggest discovery of them all. Inside one of the mummies, archaeologists found a papyrus fragment, not just any fragment. It was from Book 2 of Homer's Iliad, the famous catalogue of the ships, listing all the Greek warriors heading to Troy. Finding a Greek literary text inside an Egyptian mummy is extremely rare, and completely unexpected. So why was it there? Was it a sign of wealth, identity? Or did it hold some deeper spiritual meaning that we still don't understand? Experts say it shows just how far Greek culture influenced elite society in Roman Egypt. Let me know in the comments, what text would you like to be buried with?
Have they tested the mummy to see if they were a Roman?
Shamans are real. I'm going to tell you a story I've had. I drove to the store. I'm very aware of my surroundings. I won't even park too close to cars.
I'm like that too.
And a Middle Eastern man popped up out of the blue. I couldn't see this guy anywhere in the parking lot. And he says, I'm supposed to talk to you. He has this piece of paper. He wrote something down. He asked me about 3 things. I give him the answers to these questions. I open up the piece of paper. It was exactly the answers he had already written down. To make it even weirder, he tells me what year I'm going to be successful in, to what year it will end, and then there will be a new chapter that you'll be successful in.
Mm-hmm.
But what I can tell you is everything he said has happened to this day. I'll make the story even crazier. The first person I call, my dad, guess what the fuck he says?
What?
I had the same thing happen to me when I was around your age.
No.
Crazy.
Was this a real genie? Like a real, like...
I don't know.
So these massive doors here in St. John Lateran, the Patriarchal Basilica in Rome of the Pope, the Cathedral of Rome, come from the Roman Senate. These doors were on the Capitoline Hill for centuries before they were brought here. These massive doors represent the Republic of Rome, and they also are now entering the great Basilica of the Popes of Rome.
Who opened the upper lock?
Some people make the wildest and craziest claims, but some people also make claims that are worth looking into. And why do I say that? Because there's a man that claims that there's a tree that has popped up in front of his home that he's never seen before. And one thing that's concerning about all of this is the fact that the tree that he claims he's never seen before is identical to another tree that is right next to it. And he says that every single day it seems to be getting closer and closer to his home. As a matter of fact, take a look at this.
All right,
listen.
Something's fucking fishy around here and I don't like it. This tree, I know this tree well. This fucking thing, that thing is not real. That's not a real fucking tree. It's not in any of my childhood photos, and it doesn't even show up on Google Maps.
What?
On top of that, I feel like it's been getting closer to me. I fucking went out there the other night and measured it 377 feet away from me. I measured it this morning. 345 feet away from me, and the motherfucker's getting closer.
So you heard what he just said. So exactly how do you handle a situation like this? And if you go around and check social media, there are more people like him that are talking about things that are appearing that were never there before. So what exactly is going on? With a lot of people making the claims that this individual is 100% right because they've had the same thing happen to them. Let me know your thoughts on this in the comments. And as always, I'd love to hear from you.
Trees can move. It's been proven.
These pyramids were built as a hibernation, for a hibernation reason.
Oh, they walk when you don't look.
That something was wrong with the air they were breathing and that they were in trouble. And they were hibernating and waiting for rescue. And I said that these people were really strange because they were just like us, only they're 10 to 12 feet tall.
What?
Proportioned exactly the same, looked just like a human.
Was this in the past, present?
I got the sense it was a long time ago.
Okay. How did this leave you feeling after this experience?
So he handed me the envelope. I opened it up, and on the envelope it said Mars 1 million BC. And that's when I was like, whoa. First reaction I had, it really pissed me off. I don't do targets that I can't get righteous feedback for. If I can never know the ground truth, it really ticks me off because it's a waste of my time. So next time I'm on the West Coast, I'm going to go to Jet Propulsion Laboratory and get negatives for every single one of these locations. So next time I was on the West Coast, I went to JPL. So I handed the guy the card. He said, well, how can I help you? And I said, I would like the 4x4 negatives for all of these locations. And I handed him the card. And he just looked at it. He said, oh, that's the old city on Mars.
Right. So Mars is a personal fascination for you.
Absolutely.
We send boots on the ground there today. What are we going to find?
You're going to find all kinds of things. You're going to find mining facilities. You're going to find villages, machinery that's still there that you can see. All this stuff is extremely old and very battered.
This is the kind of story nightmares are made out of. Pull up a chair and let's talk about the Nazino tragedy, the cannibal island of the Soviet Union. In early 1933, Soviet security and camp administrators proposed large, quote-unquote, special settlement projects meant to move huge numbers of people into remote regions and force them into agricultural labor. In May of 1933, Soviet authorities began to deport thousands of people to a small river island in western Siberia to form one of their special settlements. The deportees are put ashore on Nazino Island, a swampy islet on the Ob River, roughly 800 kilometers north of Tomsk. Even though it's May, it's still Siberia and the weather can still turn harsh. People arrive with almost no shelter, few tools, and flour as the main food supply, without kitchens, ovens, or basic infrastructure to feed thousands safely. The official Soviet stated purpose of this island was that these folks would become self-sufficient in just a couple of years. If they were only given a single sack of flour, how are they supposed to plant any fields? Furthermore, they weren't allowed to leave the island either, with armed soldiers covering the riverbanks on all sides. The deportees were essentially abandoned with just that sack of flour they were given at the beginning. And remember, the soldiers guarding the area were not there to help them. They were there to keep them contained. The sparsity of resources led to the formation of gangs who began to terrorize and dominate weaker settlers. People were frequently murdered in fights over food or money, and the bodies of those in possession of anything of value such as gold tooth fillings and crowns were often looted. The latter were used for exchange for food and cigarettes by gang members. In a period of 13 weeks, of the roughly 6,000 deportees intended for Nazino Island, between 1,500 and 2,000 had died due to starvation, exposure, disease, murder, or accidental death. Another 2,000 settlers had disappeared and their whereabouts untraceable, and according to dozens of personal survivor accounts, these people are not accounted for because they were consumed. Many of the survivors returned with muscles missing from their bodies, explaining that they had been cut away to feed someone else.
Oh, man.
And in one horrific account, a survivor described a guard named Kostya Vinnikov, who fell in love with a girl who had been sent there and was courting her. He protected her, until one day he had to be away for a while and he told one of his comrades, take care of her. But with all the people there, the comrade couldn't do much, really. The girl was caught, tied to a poplar tree. While she was still alive, they cut off everything they could eat.
God.
And when Kostya came back, the girl was still alive. He tried to save her, but she had lost too much blood. It only took a couple of months for the horrors of Nazino Island to occur. To remind us once again that civilization is a construct. At our core, human beings are animals. Animals forced to desperation, who are starving, who are suffering, can be capable of anything. There is a lot to this story that I purposefully left out.
How awful! Yes, it was built by Greek.
Now, I'm sure a lot of people know who this person is, Mr. David Wilcox. He's been on Ancient Aliens. He's very well known in the UFO community. Well, the breaking news as of now is that this man has, how do I put this? He has self-inflictedly unalived himself, as per what the reports are saying right now. But all of the things surrounding his death are, let's just say, pretty strange. So let's kind of go through these a little bit here. Now, one of the things that makes this very strange is just 2 days before his unaliving of himself, supposedly, there's reports, okay, that his biographer, Winfrey, passed days earlier. So this is the guy that was writing a biography on him. And just so happens the person who's writing the biography on him ends up passing away as well. So, and it doesn't stop there. I mean, the fact that he was being so adamant about people are disappearing, okay? And he said he's grateful to be alive. Okay, that doesn't sound like somebody that wants to take themselves out. Amid mysterious UFO theorist deaths 2 days before passing. So people in his community were mysteriously passing on. So he was bringing this up and was letting everybody know that he found this to be very suspicious. And it's also the fact that he distinctively put out on his social medias, I plan on living, okay? And that he's not. So he flat out said he wasn't and made sure that was adamant because probably he knew something like this was coming. Now, do I think it could go a lot deeper than just on the surface of what they're showing you here, especially with these UFO type people? I think a massive deception, okay, like we spoke about before, the project that has a certain color to it, that the elite love to seem to paint their roofs in Hawaii as, but that certain color project, it sounds like these people might be going away to kind of lend credence to this type of event. So now is the time we need to be watchful more than ever. But what do you guys think? Leave it in the comments.
I think he was about to tell everyone that they are fallen angels.
And the painting concentrating more on the philosophers and scientists. Have you ever wondered what the building behind the drawing is? And did you know that Raphael not only made a snap of a construction site, but also envisioned the future? In 1505, 4 years before the start of painting by Raphael inside the Vatican museums, in a few hundred meters, Pope Julius II took a very ambitious and controversial decision to demolish the old Basilica of St. Peter, which at that time was already more than 1,000 years old, and build a new basilica. He commissioned one of the most talented architects of the time, Donato Bramante, to lead the project. Donato Bramante, who was a mentor and a close friend of Raphael, died in 1514. 3 years after the completion of Raphael's work, School of Athens, leaving behind 4 central piers and a barrel vault of the basilica. So the moment when the painting was finished in 1511, Raphael had to envision the interior of the basilica without the dome as a vanishing point and a background building in his drawing. It is quite interesting that after the death of Bramante, Raphael himself was commissioned to lead the project, who changed the plan of Bramante from a Greek cross to a Latin cross. But his plan was never fully executed because he also passed away in 1520. One of my personal favorite details in his drawing is in the scene full of male philosophers and scientists arguing and speaking with each other, there is a woman who quietly watches you, creating a rare, direct eye contact. This is Hypatia of Alexandria, a renowned 4th century mathematician and astronomer. If you enjoy this kind of content, see you in the next video tomorrow.
Awesome.
If you look at portraits of women throughout much of history, you'll notice one thing, that once they get married, their hair disappears. Whether it was a wimple, a hood, or a small lace cap, once you said "I do," your hair was basically off limits. But why were married Western women obsessed with this? Was it just modesty? Was it religion? Let's get into it. In the pre-modern world, women's hair was not just seen as hair, it was seen as one of her most seductive features, and as a result, unmarried girls and women wore their hair long and loose. It signalled that they were available for marriage, but once you got married, you then covered it up, and we can see that happening here. In Christianity, the covering of one's hair was seen as modest. It also showed that the woman was pious, but it also showed her social status. Throughout history, most women wanted to be married. It gave them social status and it gave them security. And so once they were married, they wanted to signal to the world that they had achieved that status. But it wasn't all about morals and religion and status. It was also about practicality and hygiene. In a world of open fires, soot, smoke and head lice, washing one's hair was a massive deal. As a result, you didn't do it as often as we might today, and thus the linen head cap became your best friend. It acted as a protective barrier between your hair and the grease and smoke and dirt of everyday life. If you were a working woman, this was even more essential. But of course, as well as being there for practical reasons, fashion soon took over. Throughout history, the headdress became one of the most important ways for women to express their style and their wealth. And so gradually, the head covering became less about being married or not, and more about fashion and status. And of course, hair began to peek through more and more, particularly during the 16th century with the French hood. By the 17th century, the covering of one's hair if you were married really wasn't a popular thing anymore. And this is Henrietta Maria, wife of Charles I, displaying the fashionable ringlets of the time. But interestingly, in the 19th century, the head covering for married women did become popular once again, and it came back in the form of this kind of cap. This is a very decorative one, of course. Sometimes it was as modest as a little lace cap at the back, and this was a particular Victorian fashion. Women wanted to once again signal whether they were married or not, and so they started wearing these little lace caps. Here is Queen Victoria. I think it's a really fashionable bit of history, and of course, now we don't wear any kind of headdress, which is also just as remarkable.
So I'm out here in Red Rock, Nevada today. That's Red Rock. I'm west of Las Vegas. There's my bicycle. I'm just out running around looking for fossils, and if you see this vein right here, it runs way up into the mountain, but this is an old ancient seabed from about 400 million years ago, and this is the first fossil I found. That is a bryozoan colony. Each one of those little dots was a living being, and they would attach themselves together to be stronger under the elements of the ocean. Here's a really cool shell right here.
Wow.
How perfect that is. This actually looks like an old shell right here. A pretty tattered one. And this ancient ocean floor was about 3,000 feet underground at one point, give or take. And during some massive tectonic plate shifting around 100 million years ago, they made their way to the surface. So I'm actually going to get back down to my bike, and I think I'm going to go check out that little wedge over there. But there's another little bryozoan colony right there. So here's something exciting on this little rock. Some sort of pattern. I don't know what it is though. So I'm at this huge face now, and I've combed like this whole side over here, and all I found was this so far. So I actually had to climb up a little bit to get to this one, but check that out. Yeah, it's a little bit bigger than any of the other ones we've spotted today. This is very interesting.
Wow.
And then right under it, another cool little piece.
Huh.
You kind of have to traverse a little bit to get to some of this stuff. I keep seeing these giant patterns Like that was a really big shell or something. Yeah, here's another one.
The director of FEMA, Greg Phillips.
Joshua.
He claims he was driving from Alabama and then was instantly transported to a Waffle House in Georgia.
That's happened to me before.
He claims, though, that he was just driving along and then he just zoned out and he's in the parking lot of a Waffle House in Georgia. And he said it was a total of 50 miles that he went instantly.
Whoa.
And he felt dizzy, he felt sick after. But then compared it to a biblical event, like was that intense.
Yeah.
Or like really messed with his head.
Yeah.
But apparently he was going through some cancer treatment and like he's like, oh, there's the medication and stuff like that. But recently he's doubling down. He's like, I was transported.
Wow.
But I was here and then I was there at a Waffle House.
Dude, what's going on?
Sounds like a SCC Saturday night.
If you look at the hexagon storm at the North Pole of Saturn, which appears to be permanent ever since the Voyager craft arrived in the early 2000s, it's always been there ever since. How do you have a hexagon storm? How do you have a storm that goes round at angles to produce a blatant hexagon? Well, how do you do it? You do it with sound. It's all to do with sound. The rings
Sound and frequency.
are generating a sound. If you go on the internet, you can find video platforms, the sound that Saturn is giving off.
Creepy.
It's freaking creepy when you hear it. And it's that whole frequency sound environment that I say creates the bizarre hexagon storm at the North Pole and is generating frequencies across the solar system. But if you look deeper into this, this reality is so not like we are led to believe it is.
Check this out, family. Now, y'all got mad at me about the last baby I showed y'all with the ass. Now, look at this baby with his eyes. Them some reptilian eyes, ain't it? And then I was trying to see if this was a filter. I don't know. Y'all let me know what y'all think in the comment. But on Funnel Grave, shit is crazy.
It's not common, but it does exist.
Nobody looks at the back of this statue. But that's where Ramesses tells you who he really is. This vertical slab is not just support, it is a back pillar, and it carries his full royal identity. At the very top, you see his Horus name, Karnak Meri Mart, the strong bull, beloved of Mart. This presents him as powerful and aligned with Mart, the divine order of the universe.
Ooh.
Below that comes his throne name, as King of Upper and Lower Egypt. The B symbol of Lower Egypt, pronounced BT, and the Sedge symbolism of Upper Egypt, pronounced Nesut. User Mart Ra, Setep en Ra. The justice of Ra is powerful, chosen of Ra. This is a declaration. His rule is backed by the sun god himself. And finally, his birth name, Ra-Mezsu, Mary Amun. Ra is the one who bore him, beloved of Amun. This is the name we know today, Ramesses. So this is not decoration. It is a message in stone.
Ooh.
Power, divine order, a king created by the gods. Even from the back, this statue is still speaking.
Enlightening.
Yesterday at the Vatican, for just 60 seconds on Passion Sunday, the legendary Veil of Veronica appeared on a high balcony. This is the Veil of Veronica, a 2,000-year-old relic said to have been used by a woman to wipe Jesus' face on the road to Calvary. It left his image miraculously imprinted on the fabric. But is this actually the real veil with Jesus' face? If you look closely, the Vatican's relic is dark, faded, the eyes are closed, and it's decaying. Since the 1600s, no one has seen it up close, or is allowed to study it, because in 1527, during the sack of Rome, when mutinous troops plundered St. Peter's Square, many historians believe the original was stolen and sold. Many replicas were also made of the Vatican Veronica veil, as a ritual back then. Kings, Queens would request a replica which would be touched to the main relic as a blessing and display it. But in 1616 Pope Paul V banned this, and in 1629 copies were called back and destroyed. Did the Vatican replace it with a copy during this time? Vatican archivist Giacomo Grimaldi was making an inventory, and even noted in 1618 that the relic's glass was broken, which gives birth to claims that it was stolen. Even the writings of Grimaldi is under question for the time it was written in, and a doubt of forged handwriting on the Grimaldi script comes from the skeptics. Now in the 90s, in a small Italian village called Manipello, Italy, there is a transparent veil claiming to be the original with its open eyes, and it's not decaying. Expert Henrik Pfeiffer claimed this is to be the stolen original. His proof, it aligns perfectly 1:1 with the Shroud of Turin. Here are some of his findings on the Manopolo's Vero Icona. These images are of the Manopolo veil studies. The wounds on this veil matches the wounds of the Shroud of Turin. What hits the debate hard is the fact that many popes and saints visited Manopolo and bowed to this veil. Pope Benedict XVI, in 2006, knelt and prayed to the Manopolo veil and also elevated the chapel to papal basilica. Pope Francis, in 2015, received an authentic copy of this Manopolo veil, which was touched to the Veronica veil relic at the Vatican. Other visitors include Cardinal Sarah in 2018, St. Padre Pio, 1968 bilocation, and Venerable Domenico de Cese, 1964. Here is some elaborate material for you to fact-check. A clear comparison found by researchers and experts. You can check and decide for yourself. But which one is the true Veronica veil? Is it in Rome or in Italy? Which one do you believe is the real face of Jesus? Let us know in the comments.
Adultery.
In the Yoruba Orisha tradition, the octopus is a shadow and a messenger of the Olokun. Now, Olokun isn't just a sea god. They represent the infinite depths of the sea and the human mind, the places where light doesn't reach and secrets are kept. While other cultures feared the octopus as a monster, African folklore saw a master strategist. There is a deep philosophical saying, the octopus has no bones, but it can crush the strongest shell. This is a lesson of internal power. It teaches us that you don't need a rigid, hard exterior to be powerful. Because the octopus has 8 arms, it is also linked to the Ahe, the spirit of wealth and prosperity. It represents the ability to reach into the universe and pull in success from every direction at once. It's not just a hunter. It's the janitor of the deep, the guardian of the ocean's bank vault who keeps the world's secrets safe. It's a creature that's boneless, yet unbreakable, the ultimate symbol of resilience. But mythology is only the beginning. Part 2 is why science is looking at this creature to rewrite medicine.
Okay. This is what we think ancient Egypt looked like. But this is what it actually looked like in its prime. An entirely different world. The Great Pyramid of Giza was not the ruin we see today. It was entirely covered in polished white limestone casing stones. Every surface was painted. Turquoise, deep blue, blazing gold, vivid crimson. At its peak, ancient Egypt was home to over 5 million people. The city of Thebes was the largest and most magnificent city on earth. The pharaoh was not simply a king. In ancient Egypt, the pharaoh was a living god. Literally. He was asked, "Can you see anything?" His answer was simply, "Yes. Wonderful things."
Without the Nile, there is no Egypt. Every year the river flooded.
Deposit ancient Egypt, not the gray ruin we visit today, but something so vivid, so alive, so extraordinary.
I would love to see Egypt too.
You are witnessing the high science of falconry, animal husbandry, and communion with nature that defined the Lemurian and Atlantean epochs. In the vast empire of Tartary, a global Asiatic power, the owl was the symbol of the original Moorish people, while the griffin stood as the official symbol of the empire itself. The teachings of Ptahhotep reveals that the owl is the literal Egyptian hieroglyph for the term Moor, signifying that the Moors are the original high priests of Anu who ruled Tartary. Drake's OVO symbol is actually a representation of the old Moors in Tartary, the original flag of your people's Eastern Empire. The sacred bird also represents the Taurus field, the geometric foundation of reality that allows for silent flight and unseen power, which is why the symbol of the owl is linked to knowledge and etymological truth hidden in plain sight. The massive owl statue at the Bohemian Grove is actually an earlier Moorish structure, part of a legacy where we once possessed many owl statues to signify the global rule of the Moors. Today, oligarchs and secretive groups at Bohemian Grove use the owl to reverse the frequency. They reverse the frequency to perform rituals to what they believe is Moloch, when in reality they are worshipping the original Moorish priesthood, the very black man they seek to supplant. The high science falconry of giant birds and griffins in the historical record were more than mythology. This legacy is rooted in the land of Collis, California, which was known as the Land of the Griffins and ruled by Queen Khalifa when California was still an island, and the Sultan of America possessed animals and birds so massive
Oh man, that's Lord of the Rings eagle.
that modern elephants seemed insignificant by comparison. Hollywood truth bombs us by showing ancient Moorish sciences of dominion over these fowls of the air through the Bowery King in John Wick, the Moorish information broker that sees and knows everything through his network of birds, representing the true Lord sitting above the high table. Simultaneously, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes mocks our ancient animal husbandry and falconry. They depict apes practicing falconry and training birds to kill. This is a calculated mockery of truth intended to reinforce the lie that original people are apes, when we never descended from no goddamn apes. This gnosis is even embedded in the occult context of Harry Potter, where the owl serves as a nocturnal herald of initiation and a sentinel of secret wisdom. It represents the ability to perceive information that remains hidden from the uninitiated. These disclosures serve to keep us in willful amnesia, preventing us from realizing we are the titans and lords who once held absolute dominion over the beasts of the field and the heavens.
Okay. Man, look at that fish.
Family. Y'all see that caption, right? Y'all see that? Yeah, your eyes is not being deceived. Apparently, zombie fish has been spotted in Lake Superior, Michigan. An investigation has been launched to determine the cause of the emaciated fish. First and foremost, what they mean, zombie fish? Boy, what they talking about? Nah, we gotta be on our P's and Q's, family. We gotta be alert, cause we already got 11 missing, and some is in the upper room. Scientists. And we just got a nigga kidnapped by dolphins, nigga. That was a real story. Fuck you talking about? What is really going on? They not telling us, but if you know, you know. The veil is gone. And all I'm gonna say is, to be aware is to be alive. Cause I feel like we in a motherfucking Resident Evil movie coming soon, you feel me? But y'all be safe out there. Y'all let me know what y'all think and feel in the comments. I'm funnel grade. Shit is crazy. Sad note, nigga. As a Chicagoan, nigga, I'm terrified right now, boy. I can't even enjoy the view of Lake Michigan. I might get bit and turn. Y'all niggas better be safe out there, because we got STDs forming to new STDs like herpes turning to ringworms. We got them talking about an investigation on some zombie fish. And it goes with our theory that we think Lake Michigan is an ocean anyway. Also, we can't forget that we got Trump and them playing with AI. And don't forget, they just leaked on the dark web the whole diabolical ending of the world plan, which I'm going to show you after this.
They probably weaponized a zombie virus, and this was just a test.
This video calls into question a lot of what geology courses teach today. It was filmed in Brazil. It just broke on Twitter. These guys crack open this, what looks like a rock, although it has a bit of a grain pattern to it, almost like wood. They crack it open. It's not obsidian. They already did an analysis on it. This is absolutely not obsidian. The going theory for this crazy looking thing is petrified tree sap from the ancient giant trees that were all around the earth before they got cut down by the 200 angels that God sent down to cut down before the freaking giants could climb them before the flood. If that lore doesn't get you, I'll tell you about it. Now, this is the exact kind of specimen that the Smithsonian Institute would swoop in to verify its authenticity before conveniently losing it. And if that went over your head, I'm telling you right now, many hundreds of geological findings, ancient giant bones, ancient giant skulls, ancient dragon bones, they say is a freaking T-Rex or whatever, and it's not. Smithsonian swoops in, I gotta check out if this is legit, man, don't worry about me. And then they lose the specimen. It's happened dozens and dozens of times. Look at the archives in the newspaper in New York City, all the freaking giant bones they dug up when they built that city. Now, before you say, I'm crazy, that's crazy, just know the same people who tell you a chemical that melts the road when it spills is good for your teeth and they add it to the water to make sure your teeth are strong are the same organized body that tell you that Devil's Tower, which is flat on top and has hexagonal structures all around it, is formed by magma and erosion. Look at this. And Devil's Tower is not the only one. This is somewhere in South America as well. Flat-topped. Of course, because the wind blew it flatly. This is what you don't understand.
They were cut
right in front
down.
of your face. You just got to have eyes to see it, man. It's what is it? The eyes are useless if the mind is blind. Now, if they can lie to us about this, that, and the other, imagine what they...
That really looks like obsidian, though.
Do you know you have a 72-hour right of rescission on everything? You get a ticket from a police officer and he gives you a ticket for speeding down the road. You can rescind that ticket within 72 hours.
What? Only in America, probably.
So I didn't ask, do we have any police officers in the room? Any attorneys? Any government agents? That's a shame. I wish you guys had some of those around because I'd love to debate them for just a little bit.
How do you do that right of rescission on a ticket?
I take a red Sharpie and at a 45-degree angle. I write your offer to contract is not accepted while traveling in private in my private automobile.
What?
You operate under Title 18, Section 241 and 242 as a conspiracy to deprive me of my rights under the color of law. And I mail it back in.
Even if it's speeding.
This is my favorite Stargate. Here you have Sekhmet with the Eye of Horus, and she is in the form of a Sekhem, which means power. She's standing on the gate. On the other side, you actually have a person as Sekhem with the Eye of Horus. You see he has the feet. So they're saying the power is the person. And then you go up, and this is the most incredible one. It's Sobek. It's crowned by the Uraeus. Then you have the eyes of Horus, and then you have the Eye of Ra on the other side, and then you have the lion on the right. Then you have the man as the winged, like, Neter of Shu, but he has the tools of power, which is the Akh and the scepter grounded into the earth. He has wings, meaning he can fly, and he is standing or posed above this gate. This is a gate. This isn't something you whisper into, but on the other side, if you're in this gate, you can use your third eye. You can hear everything. You can see everything. You can fly. You can effectualize reality in a way that we can't right now. And it's about using your power and the Stargate. So it's incredible. I love this one so much.
I think this is in K Omombo Temple.
Has there ever been a situation that you were in where you've gotten confirmation of government's involvement with human alien hybrids?
Yes.
Okay. From a credible source, you can say.
Yes.
They know about the hybrids.
Yes.
I mean, gun to your head right now, you would say absolutely.
Absolutely. Yes.
They were able to collect DNA from aliens.
John Ramirez, former CIA officer, 25-year career.
CIA had a program
to trace this alien DNA
in certain families,
Yeah.
and particularly their children were of interest to CIA.
The CIA was tracking the activity of hybrids, human alien hybrids in the United States.
That and going back and in their lineage.
In that 25 years.
Did you encounter anyone you knew for sure was read into one of the deeper programs?
Yes.
Did you have a lot of interactions with this person?
Yes, I did.
My name was submitted for that particular compartment.
And the Pentagon came back and said, no, we're not going to read John Ramirez into that. No way.
You specifically?
You specifically cannot be read in. He said, you don't understand, John. This program is the highest secret, top secret in the entire United States government.
What?
This top secret information exceeds that of Manhattan.
Did you know that the Council of Nicaea was a part of Black history and Constantine was a Black man?
This is my first source, Imperial Rome. Look at these 4 men. They're called the Tetrarchy. These are 4 Black Roman emperors. They are set up in pairs because 2 Roman emperors ruled the East and the other 2 ruled the West. The East was ruled by Diocletian and his junior emperor Galerius, and the West was ruled by Maximian and his junior emperor Constantius. Notice how the lead emperor's arm is always around the junior, showing you that they're guiding the junior emperor. But this man right here, this is Constantine's father. His nose have been knocked off, but you can still see how wide it is. Look at how big his lips are. He was called Cloris because he was a light-skinned Black man. This is my next source, Tever Icons. Look at St. Nicholas. Now look at Constantine the Great. These are 2 Black men. This is my next source, the Annunciation Cathedral of Moscow, Kremlin. This is Constantine and his mother. Now that we know that he is Black, let's get into the making of Christianity. This is my next source, National Geographic's The Holy Land. And I quote, the conversion of Rome. Under the Emperor Constantine, the Christian faith supplanted paganism as the empire's official religion. From that position of power, the church expanded throughout Rome, held territories, and dominated the Byzantine Empire that replaced Rome in the 5th century. I'm going to show you how Constantine was able to convert Rome. This is my next source, Byzantine. The new Christian church developed its own ritual and doctrine, assimilating much from the religions and philosophies of the varied people of the empire. Christians also adopted rituals and even dates from the pagan religions. Thus, Christianity added to its other strengths a universal appeal. The universal church, the Catholic Church, Black men gave that to you. It was wrong and pagan, but Black men gave that to you. This is my next source, Imperial Rome. And I quote, by the 3rd century AD, the Council of Nicaea, Christianity was still accumulating converts and had become less doctrine. They stopped following Christ and the disciples and started going a more pagan route. Christian writers were conceding that it was possible to be both a good Christian and a good Roman. So the new doctrine was that you can be a pagan and a Christian at the same time. This would slowly end up being our demise.
Famous artist admits he uses witchcraft in his music.
Saturnalia has
Marilyn Manson.
Very disruptive binaural audio in it. The whole record does. If you listen to it in headphones, it will affect your brain chemistry. I started reading about this. There's actual bunch of people in America trying to protest this new. There's some different websites where you can download audio that creates the same chemical reaction in your brain as drugs, and the word that kids are going to get addicted to audio drugs. But some of those are true. Some of those frequencies do have an effect on your brain that make you feel happy or sad. And
so is this record an audio drug?
It is. It's alchemical and it's binaural, and it is it's magic in some way.
I got a lot of responses on my last video about this image here, which is a real vampire. This is real etheric energy from a person that once lived and has now crossed over into the etheric realm and is now terrorizing people, as you can see here, in a nightclub / bar in New Orleans. I'm actually really glad that people are starting to see this type of stuff, and there's more and more videos about vampires coming out, not just from me, but from other people talking about it, because there is a threat with these entities. Not just these entities, entities that have completed other immortality rituals, and also entities that live on the etheric realm. If you guys don't know me, I'm an aura reader, but I also read people's etheric cords. I read people's etheric bodies and their energy. Real vampires that are immortal, and also vampires that are still living and they are flesh, that are doing rituals to one day become immortal and skip over the second passing, have a lot of astral power. You see, the thing is, for vampires to have this etheric power, especially after they have passed away or their first body has passed away, they need to terrorize other people to get their energy. So they are literally siphoning energy from other people. And it usually has to be some type of like urine or our red stuff. This is crazy. I know it sounds crazy, but it's real. And if you guys want more information about this, there's a couple of books you can check out. One being John Greer, the book Monster. And then there's another book called Book of the Moon Witch. And it talks all about that. So we're talking about real vampires. This is a vampire that has become immortal. You see the etheric energy on this person. It's not like a ghost. And the way that these vampires operate is very different than having just a regular poltergeist experience. Vampires that have reached immortality are astral stalkers, and they are also astral parasites. Now, that doesn't mean that only immortal vampires are doing the astral stalking. It's also people that are participating in other Luciferian rituals as well. Our astral body is so important because the way energy works here on Earth, obviously in our physical form, you can't see energy, but energy has a structure in the etheric realm and in the spiritual realm. That's why if you have ever met or encountered a vampire and they've touched you or they've exchanged some type of emotional energy with you, you may still feel their presence around you. You may feel as though they have a cord with you. This is very real. Now, a lot of vampires actually need to touch you to achieve this, but not all of them even need that. And again, I'm not fear-mongering here. Encountering a real vampire is very, very rare. But it's really important we understand what these entities are.
But we're not going to wait forever, and I don't want you to be tired either. I want you to be prepared. I want you to be ready. I want you to psychologically and emotionally prepare yourself for what will be the most stunning events you've ever seen in your entire life. That is what we're heading into. It is not going to stay like this, where people can still be skeptical and they can still be annoying and they can still say, well, I don't know if I believe any of this stuff. You will not have that luxury anymore. You will not have the luxury of denying what is going on. You will not have the luxury of being ignorant. It's become so obvious for those who are, even with possessing minimal insight, that there is something very, very crazy going on. That the world is being run not the way we were told in school, not the way you're told on television, but there's something else going on. It's dark, it's weird, it's scary. There is a monster under the bed. We're really being held back by the people who don't see this yet, and the reason typically they don't see it is political ideology and fear.
Doesn't look like a suicidal man.
A whistleblower from OpenAI has come forward to report that Sam Altman is building portals all over the world and using AI to summon aliens.
Capacity is shaping the balance of power between nations and all of our security. One former OpenAI executive said, quote, "We're building portals from which we're genuinely summoning aliens. The portals currently exist in the United States and China, and Sam has added one in the Middle East. It's just like wildly important to get how scary that should be."
Now, could this be why so many tech executives are building massive data centers all over the world? I mean, just take a look at how many data centers are being built in the US. Now, it makes me wonder what the real race to win AI is really all about.
Did you know that
aliens, more like demons,
Vlad the Impaler believed drinking human blood would make him immortal? This wasn't just cruelty, it was ritual magic. While most people think Vlad was simply a brutal ruler, the truth runs much deeper. He was practicing ancient blood magic, based on forbidden knowledge that consuming enemy blood would transfer their strength directly into his own body. Historical accounts describe dinner parties that would horrify you. Vlad would sit at his table, surrounded by impaled victims who were still dying. He would dip his bread into their blood and eat it while they watched. But this gets darker. He kept detailed records of every torture method, timing each execution with lunar cycles and astrological events. The more terrifying the death, the more spiritual power he believed he could absorb. His castle contained a secret chamber where he performed divination using human organs. Local legends claim something impossible, that Vlad never aged during his entire reign, because some knowledge was never meant to be discovered, and some rituals were never meant to work. But what if they did?
America's most famous trail has a dark side. Pull up a chair and let's talk about the dark history of the Appalachian Trail. The Appalachian Trail attracts more than 3 million visitors every single year. Today, it runs more than 2,190 miles across 14 states. We have the Appalachian Trail because in 1921, a planner named Benton McKay proposed a footpath running down the Appalachian Mountains. And between 1925 and 1937, both private and volunteer loggers and federal workers volunteered to hack the contiguous trail into the Appalachian Mountains from Georgia to Maine, a gargantuan effort that took almost 15 years. Over the decades, the trail and the mountain corridors around the Appalachian Trail picked up a darker history of murders, fatal accidents, exposure deaths, assaults, and missing person cases. Make sure you stick around to the end, because on this trail, people have vanished when the path was only feet away. In Great Smoky Mountains National Park, where the Appalachian Trail crosses the Tennessee-North Carolina line, a young boy named Dennis Martin disappeared in 1969 during a family outing. Search teams covered a huge area and never found him. And in 1976, during a school trip in the Smokies, 16-year-old Trenny Gibson disappeared without a trace.
Wow.
And to this day, neither of those cases have been solved. In 2013, hiker Geraldine Jerry Largay stepped off the Appalachian Trail in Maine to relieve herself and couldn't find her way back. Searchers found her remains more than 2 years later, less than 700 feet from the trail. Unfortunately, the Appalachian Trail isn't just home to missing persons cases. Several acts of violence have been known to occur on the trail as well. Viewer discretion is advised for this next bit. In 1990, hikers found the bodies of Jeff Hood and Molly LaRue near a shelter south of Duncannon, Pennsylvania. Their killer was still on the trail when their bodies were discovered. Rangers and police tracked him down days later in Harper's Ferry. In the southern Appalachians, serial killer Gary Michael Hilton targeted hikers in North Carolina and Georgia in 2007 and 2008. And Hilton is now known as the National Forest Killer. And in one of the saddest cases, in Shenandoah National Park, very near the AT, Laura Lolly Winans and Julianne Julie Williams were murdered at their campsite near Skyland Resort in 1996. Their case remained open and cold for decades. But finally, in 2024, the FBI identified Walter Leo Jackson Sr. as the killer. Unfortunately, assaults on the trail didn't end there. In 2019, a man attacked hikers with a machete on the Appalachian Trail in Virginia, killing one and severely injuring another. Situations like this, while they are shocking, are not the norm. Hiking the AT is an incredibly rewarding and enjoyable experience for thousands every single year. But again, even though a situation might not happen all the time, it can happen. And if you love the great outdoors, a little preparation and listening to your gut can keep you safe every time you're out there. You'll find more dark histories, mysteries, and folklore on my profile.
No hikings for me.